Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Three-Man Weave Best Bets Show. No sponsor, no nothing. Get rid of the bells and whistles. We don't need them. It's just the three fellas hanging out, talking college hoops. It's the first Saturday of the season, which means the slate isn't that great, but it's kind of loaded in the mid-major department, and we're happy for that. We've got our spinny hats on. It is Spinny Saturday. Welcome if this is your first time to the show. I am your host, Jim Root. I'm joined by Kai McEwen and Matthew Cox. We're excited to talk ball. Fellas, last night was really the big night of college hoops. We had some massive games, some massive outcomes. Matthew, your Dookie Blue Devils took an L at home. Is that your takeaway? What kind of takeaway do you have from last night and what we saw? Maybe you got even more than one. What do you got, Matt?
No, I'll just hit the Duke thing. Really disappointing from the old Devils. Just coaching Lloyd Shire, in multiple capacities, just got, mentally dominated and physically owned. I think that was the Duke Kryptonite matchup that many Devil fans were so ominous about. And I think Arizona exposed what's a pretty critical weakness, even for a team I believe is still going to be the national title picture when March rolls around, but they're going to have to find some beef up front. I don't mean the Ryan Young beef. I mean like some actual beef that can stand up to the big boys. And there are plenty of elite teams with Omar Ballows out there.
Arizona looked better than Duke. Not super surprising. I don't know. Is it surprising? Maybe it is. Arizona could be awesome.
It was to me. They are good. They defend. They guard.
I'm planting flag if Tommy Lloyd is a better coach than John Shire at this point.
No question.
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
We never would have said, that was always known.
Jim, my takeaway, of course, is our Missouri Tigers looked really good for a half and then looked horrible for a half. Not the best start. That was a big win for Memphis. I guess hat tip to them, but tough start for us, for our Mizzou boys. And then I'll message to the chat really quick. The rundown is in the description to the video, so we don't have a fancy little display on our screen. But if you want to see the rundown, check out the description of the video, and of course Jim will be using that to kind of lead us through today.
Yeah, I'll try to make it very clear line of demarcation when we switch games. We will try to get some sort of on-screen rundown. We are not fancy producers here, so it's a little bit bare bones behind the scenes right now, but we're working on it. We're always working on it. You guys hit the Arizona Duke pretty hard. Kai, agree. Mizzou looked bad, but Memphis is huge and athletic. Really, you got to kind of acknowledge that they are at least SEC level. They're probably like top 5. Neutral floor last night, knocked off Florida. I really was kind of impressed by both teams, and shout out to one of our followers, Kai and Matt, who told us to watch out for Blake Buchanan for Virginia, freshman big. He was fantastic, and they needed him against the size of Florida. So impressed by him. Shout out Texas A&M, big road win at Ohio State. A lot of big results last night. Today, much more mid-major, and without further ado, let's get into it. We're starting with Fresno State at Kent State. Man, Kent State, Kai, coming off a tough loss at home, losing to James Madison, kind of the darling of college hoops right now, the darling of the sports world. Double overtime. Market seems to have taken notice, particularly betting the under here. I think that might be partially due to that double overtime. Fresno also played rather slow against Fresno Pacific. What are you looking at with this game?
Does Kent State have a little hangover from that double OT game against James Madison? I tend to think no, but worth thinking about. What a brutal loss, by the way. Up 5 with 3 seconds left. KenPom gave that a 0.4% chance of them losing that game. Wild play. College basketball is awesome, but if you're Kent State, obviously a heartbreaking end. This is the first Division I game for Fresno. Like Kent, they struggled to put away their non-Division I foe in their first game. We got 2 good defensive teams here that both are tough and athletic. Matt, will Fresno's length bother Kent State? Kent State's not the biggest team on the perimeter in the world, and Fresno's got quite a bit of length out there. It's just hard to nail down what Hudson is from year to year, what Fresno is from year to year. I think home court matters a bit here. I think the Flash is pulled out. I liked it at -3. I probably wouldn't play it at -4, -3.5 right now.
Yeah, I like Fresno this year. I went on a Mountain West podcast and discussed my love for them. I think I like Fresno every year, so maybe it just needs to be a revised and reassessed take in general. certainly feels like a good spot to back Kent State. A little bit, angry and motivated. Sender off's like, it's good that we play 48 hours from the loss in which they suffered. He's like, we just need to get back out there. Like, we don't want to let this one linger. I like the mental psyche of that. This Kent State team's still big, right? Chris Payton, high flyer, but it's not like the brute force physical team that we saw last season. It's a little more wingy and guardy this season. I think Fresno, man, their bigs are very underrated. Eduardo Andre, Inak Boyaki, Jimbo,
Boyachi.
Boachi. God, I knew it's a soft.
I was excited for you to pronounce it. I was hoping you'd get to it.
I believe he's Canadian and or French Canadian. I don't know. I mess it up every time and will continue to throughout the year. I like Fresno here. I do. I don't actually agree with the market.
Yeah, I mean, side is kind of tough for me to figure.
It is tough.
I do like the under. I know it's been bet down and efficiency has been pretty crazy in the sport so far. Overs are 136 and 104 per covers. So
Yikes.
Yeah, if you're just auto betting overs, you're up like 20 units. Congratulations. I bet you feel great. But yeah, in this one with Kent State off that double overtime game, so maybe the legs aren't quite there. Fresno, like I said, played really slow against a non-D1, not even hitting 70 possessions against a non-D1 is kind of telling. And they're starting 6'11" non-shooters. Matt mentioned Boachi and Andre. That lineup tells me we're going to lean towards under, maybe not play that fast, try to brawl you in the paint. And Kent State's got some legit bigs too, with Peyton and Von Cameron Davis and Hornbeek. So yeah, I think this kind of turns into a brawl in the paint, relatively half court. Lean towards the under. It's been bet down, like we said. Nothing for me on the side. Next up, Utah State, Bradley. Matt, this kind of strikes me like it could be another brawl. I mean, Bradley identifies as a monster defensive team. They've got Malavi Leons, who's like one of the best versatile multi-positional defenders in the country. And then Utah State with Danny Sprinkle taking over, much more defensive identity than those Ryan Odom teams, which were all offense, invert the floor, space it with bigs. What are you looking at here? Is it a total? Is it a side? What's your take on this game?
I'm going to drop a side for the squad. I like first half, and I like the Braves. A little home cooking. Revenge from last season. Got smacked. Another plug for our guy, Tom Osser, who does the Top of the Mountain West podcast. He actually tipped me off to this potential juicy spot. A new sort of identity-changing Utah State team, right? Used to be skill and finesse. Now they're brute physicality. I think that actually is a potential kryptonite matchup for Bradley, who got punched in the mouth up front against UAB in that second half collapse. They still won. I like the first half angle here because I still think Bradley's offense is crisp, and I think their defense still has length. I worry that over the course of the game that maybe wears on the Braves. If we, great Orsabor, the great UK Englishman that we love, starts to hit the glass pretty hard their second half. But I think Bradley first half catches a new, unsuspecting, work in progress, makeshift Aggie squad Kai under the new regime there, Mr. Sprinkle. So give me Wardle and the home cooking Braves at Peoria.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm going towards too, Matt. It's the first road trip, first D1 game for Sprinkle at Utah State. And Bradley's a very tough place to play. KenPom ranks their home court advantage 26th
Great home court
in the country. I know from betting the Missouri Valley, it's really hard to win at Bradley. It's even hard to cover. No Ian Martinez still for Utah State. He needs a waiver. Probably not going to get one anytime soon. So they're still very much, like Matt said, a very new, jumbled team, work in progress, definitely talented, definitely have potential, but it's still very early in the season. Compared with Bradley, who returns a good core. They have a stable system in place. They're a great defensive team every single year. The number has gotten a bit high, Jim, -5 for the Braves, I think, most books out there. But I do think they pull the win out.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Bradley just feels like a team that's more ready for the season with what they brought back and their coach continuity, whereas Utah State's maybe going to take some time to feel out their identity, figure out what their pecking order is offensively, because there's just not a lot of like oomph to that offense, and that can be a real problem against Bradley in the way that they defend. You mentioned the home court. Like Peoria is just not super easy to get to. Like you fly into Chicago and then you bus there, or you have to like connect to Peoria on a small, tiny little plane. So I think it's that's a big part of that home court. And Utah State coming from quite a bit away. Definitely lean to Bradley. Would certainly like it down more like -3. So I'm not betting it. But that's kind of where I sit. Again, sort of under 2, just because the way the teams match up is more defensive minded. It is a lowish total though.
Is that breaking news in the chat by Nanana? Ian Martinez got his waiver approved. I had not seen that.
Kai,
wait, I don't think, is that right? I'm not going to call out Nanana. I have
not seen that news. I know he was still pending as of preseason or exhibition game 1.
Okay,
So
I read an article as of yesterday that he had not been approved, so maybe I missed something.
if it's approved, it's like today. So
Okay,
either Nana's mistaken or just got approved.
I'm gonna side with Nana. I think I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna take Nana here with the points.
Okay,
It's an early.
I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna fade
now.
myself. Yeah,
check
I'm
the
gonna
lineup
fade myself.
if you want to
Yeah,
bet him.
check the lineup indeed. All right, next up, more of a shootout type of game here. Ohio at Cleveland State. Two teams with potent offenses. Ohio was terrific in their opener, took out Troy, kind of up 15-ish for most of that game. Meanwhile, Cleveland State took a loss to Duquesne in the opener, but Duquesne is looking really good early, beat Charleston yesterday, so no shame in that. And then they smacked Defiance. I know we were at the Barstool Invitational looking at the scores, and we saw Defiance up 44-17 on Cleveland State, and our alarm bells went off. Turns out the app had it flipped, and Cleveland State was taking care of business. So in-state rivalry, mini rivalry here, Kai. The favorite flipped from Cleveland State to Ohio. What are you thinking?
I love this Ohio team. Even though they lost Dwight Wilson and they lack size for sure, they have a really good perimeter group, a great guard group, and Jeff Bowles is an excellent coach. However, I do think Cleveland State's a really tough matchup for them. They're an extremely physical team. They should own the glass. They nearly beat Duquesne at Duquesne. I think that's very impressive. I'm big on Duquesne this year. To almost win at their place shows me that Cleveland State is for real. They also have a lot of talent. Inaruna is probably the best player on the floor in this matchup, and Louder and Williams have been excellent so far for them. So I like Cleveland State here, Matt. That's the way my compass is pointing.
I kind of like Ohio. I respect Cleveland State enough to not bet this one. I think the price is pretty accurate with effectively a pick 'em. Not a ton of home court, right? Both teams in state. Super efficient game last year. Neither one could stop the other one. And we've actually seen Cleveland State have these weird games where they don't actually get stops. It's we think of them as like the Iowa State light with Denial Robinson, former Otzelberger assistant, and they have athletes. They don't really have the same stable of athletes they had last year. I think actually this year they struggled to guard, and Ohio is built to put points on you in a hurry. Like to put 90 on Troy, pretty impressive. Now, are they going to give up plenty on the back end because they're up front? Physical front line is a little bit weak, and yes. All that is to say, I kind of like the overs. I think more about this game played really slow last year. There's like 150 points, super efficient. I think this actually speeds up. I like the over if you want to get involved in this one, but I think it's kind of a back and forth, high scoring, fun, get your popcorn type of tilt.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if this one played as slow as last year. That's not really Ohio's game. Cleveland State has shown against the right opponent an inclination to get out and run a little bit. I think Matt's onto something there, a little bit more up tempo. Total hasn't really moved, sitting at 150.5 right now. If you do want to get involved there, I do lean Ohio on the side. Don't really want to lay 1.5, so not going to recommend it to the mobbers. But that's where I'm sitting. I think this Ohio team is maybe a little undervalued because of what they lost and maybe underrating what is coming in. So I will be a Bobcat there from a lean perspective. Next up, Cornell and Fordham. Here's a fun one out in New York. Man, Kai, Cornell, they just get out and go in the non-conference. They have played some zippity-doo-dah games already. You look at early season last year, and they really, really got out and ran. Fordham may not love that, but they also were just in a rock fight in overtime with Wagner on Monday. Maybe there's some slingshot here. We're like, oh, the game is much more open instead of playing against Wagner's zone defenses. What are you thinking here? I will give away right now that my best bet is over 152. Cornell, Fordham over.
Definitely support the bet there, Jim. It is a clash of styles. It's gorgeous offense and 3-point shooting for Cornell, and it's suffocating defense, extreme perimeter length for Fordham. And Rose Thrill Gymnasium is a tough place to play, but it's not much travel for Cornell, right? They are located quite close to Fordham. Matt, I'm not good at my Northeast geography quite as much as you are with California, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty close. It was concerning how much Fordham struggled to score in game one. Granted, Wagner's a good defensive squad, but that was the fear coming into the season after losing Quisenberry, after losing Moore. Cornell has no issue scoring. Even against athleticism, I kind of trust Earl to develop ways for them to get open looks from the perimeter. It's a great coaching matchup because I respect Ergo a whole lot too. I think the number moved in the correct direction. I do have a small lean towards Cornell on the side. It's 1.5, pretty low. And I think Jim's correct with the over lean there, Matt.
Yep, I took over. I also took Cornell money line because I've just been itching for a time to back them in non-conference. I seem to like always miss my opportunities. Thought the line was a little bit inflated against Lehigh, who, after another good effort against Penn State by the Mountain Hawks, I think that Cornell one's going to age pretty well. Fordham, I still think is a good team, right? It's a new Fordham. It's not your grandmother's Fordham for sure, but I don't think they're as good as last season. I feel pretty good about that. As good as Medora was in his debut, just getting that late waiver. I still think they miss more up front as kind of a Swiss Army knife defender. I just think Cornell's better. I think they're tough to prepare for these non-conference teams. You don't know what to do with them, right? The Ivy League is where they typically kind of level off. But non-con, I just think you just don't know what hits you until like 30 minutes in. They're already up, 70 to 50 on you.
Yeah, and to clarify, Harry just asked what number. 152 was what I'm giving the best bet at. That's what I'm seeing in the market. But to your point on Medora, Matt, like he saved them in the opener. Like they desperately needed his offense. And this was like the best player for a team that was barely top 300 last year. And so if they're hyper reliant on him as the guy, that concerns me a little for Fordham's upside. They need a lot more from their sophomore class. Will Richardson, I believe, was the Almanac's pick for a breakout player in the A-10. He was sort of pedestrian in that first game, but Cornell's defense certainly offers you a lot of chances to get to the rim, get open threes in transition. And they're just going to answer back with buckets on the other end. So, not a ton for me on the side, but best bet 152, the over between those two. I think we see another track meet. All right, Matthew, you are my chat czar. Hopefully we got some questions rolling in here from the chat. What do you got for us?
Just a broad macro question from our guy, Michael Zhang. Shouts to Zanger, longtime chat mob member. Good to have you back, Sir King. Jim, Texas A&M, real deal or false hope, he asks.
Generally, I kind of lean real deal. No Julius Marble last night, and they still got a tough road win at Ohio State. Maybe we'll find out later on that this just says more about Ohio State.
I don't feel as confident about that, but we'll see. I don't know why I'm abandoning that day. I should just probably stick to my guns there. Kai from Ethan, Western Carolina at Notre Dame. Is this on the rundown? I don't believe it is. Is it?
Not. No, it's not on the rundown.
Kind of a competitive game here. The Irish at home, laying 5.5 against a fun and intriguing Justin Gray squad this year. Kind of a darling to win that SoCon.
I took Western Carolina. Worried to fade Shrewsbury, but I think Notre Dame's going to play better as a dog this year. Western Carolina has a lot of firepower. Guards coming back, including Vontarius Woolbright. They can score in bunches. I fully expect Notre Dame to have a great game plan in this game. I think 5.5 is a little bit too much. I like Western Carolina.
Man, I don't know. I'm torn on that one. A couple people asked about UNC Wilmington, UNC Asheville, Jimbo. UNC Asheville
on
just
the old rundown.
It's on the rundown. That's right. God, what a terrible slate we have today.
Yeah.
Tough debut.
I send you the rundown before every show.
Yeah, no, I don't have it pulled up in front of me. Sorry, I'm going through the chat mob. Ball State, Old Dominion Thaw. I believe that's on the rundown as well, correct?
It is not.
No, Old Dominion not.
Took some money early in the market
rundown,
there.
Kai. Yeah, Old Dominion took some early money. I agree. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I think the market immediately sucked any value. I probably would have taken Old Dominion at 2 or better, and it got up to 3.5 like immediately. So I ended up sitting that one out. Kai, anything extra for you there?
Yeah, relax, overnight bettors. My God, just relax. Can we wait till limits get up, please, for the boys? Thanks. Back to Matt.
Yeah. Basically all those large favorites got absolutely just annihilated in the overnight markets. Speaking of, Chosen one asked about Houston first half. Jim, this was sort of a darling angle of yours last season. I missed the full game number. It got bet up to like 50 or something. I don't even know. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm checking the first half number right now because I saw it like 20.5. I mean, you're like over 2/3 of the full game number, what it opened at. It's hard to lay that, but I think Corpus Christi is in trouble this year, and Houston, I mean, what they did to Monroe in the first game was like nothing short of a Suffolk.
I'm super low on SLU this year. I should have bet Southern Indiana. I thought they were too banged up, so I didn't bet them. They covered pretty easily. I don't love to bet Illinois State now either because I don't know what Illinois State is. SLU, we talked about this. SLU scheduled perfectly for their current state because they are clearly a fade team as of now, but doesn't matter because they're playing teams that you should also not be excited to bet. So long-term SLU, very down on. I don't think they'll do very well in the A-10.
Let's get one more at the buzzer from Maddie Bailey. Coppin State catching 16.5 to Mount St. Mary's. That line makes no sense to me, except it does because they just lost by 1 million in a game that they were catching 20 to Towson Gym. I mean, is there any way you can take Coppin at an inflated number? I would say no.
I think we need to figure out the bottom with this team. They might be 362. Like there's a chance they are the worst team. NCA&T is in that competition. Mississippi Valley State's in that competition.
A lot of good candidates, though. A lot of great candidates for that.
There are a lot of bottom of the barrel squads. Lemoyne actually competed with Nova for a while.
Better team for first 10 minutes. By my eye test.
So I don't want to try to. It's not quite catching a falling knife with Coppin right now, but I think they could be even worse than anything has them valued.
I agree. Oh, hey, how about Ed Redmond? I would talk about our Toledo rocket ships -7.5. Ton of money the rocket ships are catching again. Kai, is this Toledo based or is this opponent based? I think we can kind of say from that game 1 against Detroit Mercy, another team maybe in contention for the worst team in the country, that was more opponent based. But Toledo laying it pretty big against Louisiana, who smacked Youngstown game 1.
Yeah, that spread's high. I will not be fading. I will not be fading Toledo. They were like 80% from 3 last week, first game, because they always are. So not fading, but I think Louisiana's pretty good this season. Their win against Youngstown, despite Youngstown's horrible shooting luck, was still impressive. Yeah, I probably wouldn't take either side there right now.
All right, back to rundown we go. Let me round up the rest.
All right, the big home run Super Bowl matchup of the day that everyone is waiting for. Stonehill and UConn. Yes, that's what everybody is here to see. Nearly a 40-point spread. UConn absolutely demolished Northern Arizona in the opener. Man, Matt, this is a complete unfair mismatch in the paint. Like Klingon can pick if he wants to go for 35 and 20, I think he can. If he wants to go for 17 and 12, he can't. Like Klingon will choose what he wants to do in the paint. I think the Stonehill team is bad, regardless of what they did to Army, who is even worse. Sorry, ground troops. This is a name your number game for UConn. They can win by as much as they want, and I am not feeling like getting involved in it.
Yeah, and it's 39. I think when you get to like 40, you're at a point where it's actually hard to beat anyone by like 40 plus. You just like you don't have enough minutes in the game to do that. But in this case, I think UConn. I don't know. I just can't see myself betting.
They can if
they want to. It's just, I don't know. Don't bet Stonehill is kind of my take here. I don't know if I'm going to recommend laying it with UConn, though, at 39, guy.
I don't know. I'd be shocked if they don't win by 40. It shouldn't be close. George Washington beat this team by 45. UConn beat Northern Arizona by 43, whose category is better than Stonehill. So the size difference is going to be comical in this game. I bet Stonehill doesn't score 50. I'd be shocked if UConn doesn't score 90. So that's kind of where I'm at there.
Yeah, remember, last time UConn did not cover against a non-conference opponent was the 21-22 season. Yeah. They went undefeated again in the non-con against the spread last year and got off to an easy cover start this year. So you got to be bold to be jumping on Stonehill in that one. All right, next up, local, DePaul, our Big East team here in Chicago, playing possessed. Kai, they are hosting Long Beach State. There's certainly some injury questions for DePaul. They've already lost at home once in a bye game to Purdue Fort Wayne. I would make a rather convincing argument that Long Beach State is better than Purdue Fort Wayne. And of course, the line reflects it, sitting right around Pick'em. What are you looking at? Is this too short for a Big East team against the Big West squad, or what do you think?
Yeah, no respect for DePaul, but why should there be? Yeah, Fort Wayne handled them in front of like 900 people. We talked about on our podcast how there was nobody at this game, and there probably won't be tonight either, or today. No Jalen Terry or Mac Etienne. Last game is a problem, Terry especially. DePaul just simply doesn't have a Big East roster. It's abysmal. Long Beach did struggle against Portland, but this is still a talented group. It's top 15 nationally in continuity. It's among the most experienced squads in the country. I think this game, Matt, is going to be a bit of a track meet, but I think Beach outlasts them despite the travel. I lean towards Long Beach in this game.
I have a confession. I bet DePaul, but it's my smallest bet of the day, and I just think that the number is a little bit ridiculous. Long Beach in the non-con is typically a different beast than them in conference play. I just think when you watch how, and you see some of the Big West teams, like I think Russell Turner does this at Irvine, Monson does this at Beach. They just kind of throws like a random rotation out there in games that I don't feel like they're always playing to win. They're just playing to learn about themselves because the Big West is all that really matters to them. I don't know, long windy way of saying on top of the travel, I like DePaul, despite the fact that they looked absolutely putrid and pathetic and helpless in that opening game against Fort Wayne. I have a theory that we might look back and say, wow, Fort Wayne was just a lot better than we thought, and that was a one-off opening game dud for DePaul. But this is a close your eyes bet, and don't follow what I say. Don't do as I say.
Yeah, I like Beach, Maddie. I'll go against you. I won't listen.
I just made a great case for Beach. I did. Thank you.
This is going to be a track meet. DePaul loves to play in transition. Beach loves to play in transition. And I just think Beach has more weapons. I look at the DePaul roster and we've kind of criticized it. Like, if you're trying to get better in the Big East, taking a guy from Minnesota, the worst team in the Big Ten, and South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC, and Wyoming, who was terrible last year. Like, that's not how you boost your team. And if Terry's not back, Etienne's not back, they have no size to stop slashing from Beach. I think the Beach wins this one, and it's 2 straight bye game losses for Stubblefield, and the seat starts to get warm if it's not already. Asheville, of course, a major darling of the mid-major world because of the presence of Drew Pember, arguably the best mid-major player in the country. Matthew, report from Pat Taylor in the chat that Raz steamed up the over here, expecting a shootout between these two. I actually disagree. I think Wilmington likes to force you into half-court games, so I wish I had a better number, and or maybe I'll step in on the higher total that they've got here. But do you see anything side or total with this in-state battle?
I also disagree. I think Wilmington's feel like they try and when they play close games, which feels like every game for them is close, it does tend to, the tempo kind of seems to get a little clamped down. And I think Asheville, while, more a transition team for sure, and how they play, I think the Michigan game is going to be, more of an outlier, just because that was such a blowout so quickly. So I actually kind of like the under the tier. 149, it's a huge number, and what should be, a competitive type of game here. Sidewise, I tend to side with Asheville, just because I think they come off that Michigan game a little more prepared to play better against a more like-minded opponent.
First off, I apologize for the stream. My internet apparently is struggling today. Don't know why. That's how the internet works. So it might be a little choppy here and there. Stick with us. I think it keeps recovering, but apologies. Wilmington and Asheville, yeah, fun matchup. If this game was at Trask, we'd know who wins this game already. But it is the first Division I game for Wilmington. They're on the road. Asheville got handled by a good Michigan team. I'm not really taking a lot of stock there. We already know Pember is the best player on the floor. It was encouraging, actually, against Michigan to see other players step up in the scoring department. Josh Banks had a good game. Because that's huge. With Tajion Jones graduating, Asheville needs a secondary scorer. The starting guards did not deliver, but Banks had a good game. So Asheville's very experienced. 4 starters back, 6 of their top 7. No pushover. I just think UNC Wilmington is a good squad to back this year. They have real experience for the first time in 3 years. Siddle's been a monster against the spread the last 2 seasons, and he really hasn't had any continuity. And this year he does. So it should be a close game, maybe a little defensive battle. I kind of agree with the underlean. I'm surprised this game was hammered to the over. I lean Wilmington, Jim, on the side.
Yep, I do too. I just the backcourt is much better than Asheville's now that they don't have. Help me out. Who's the monster scorer that they lost last year? Had a huge
Jones.
Of the year. Jones, thank you.
Yeah.
Tajion Jones. Yeah. I don't think Wilmington can really stop Pember one-on-one. They played one guy over 6'7" in their meaningful rotation in their opener, and Pember's going to really probably be able to do whatever he wants. But I think you can double him a little bit, and the Asheville just can't punish you the same way that they could last year with Jones's perimeter shooting. So yeah, lean towards Wilmington, and I think they more or less control the tempo. You look back at last year, and their non-conference, they played one game over like 66 possessions. A High Point got them in a random track meet. I don't think Asheville's really going to be able to do that. So yeah, again, sort of lean to the under. Maybe it's an efficient game, but I think pace is going to trend towards the under. And going against Raz and totals is never advisable, but we all lean the other way. So tread lightly if you do decide to side with us there.
We v Raz. We should make a scorecard for that all year.
Last up on the rundown before we get back to chat mob, Drexel at Winthrop. Matthew, Drexel made us pull our hair out watching them at LaSalle in the opener. Just really bad offensive sets. Sometimes their big guy, Amari Williams, his motor drops and he doesn't take advantage of his massive matchup advantage inside. And he's going to have that here. Winthrop wants to run and spread you out and play more mobile 6'8" bigs. Williams could feast in the paint if he's actually locked in.
Yep.
I question to you, though, will he be, and will Drexel be smart enough about feeding him?
No and no. However, I don't actually trust Winthrop, as weird as that's to say. I feel like they've been a little bit disappointing for me as a better the last couple of years under Prosser, especially in big spots. I love that roster, but it just doesn't quite have. I think we're learning just how good Kelsey was, and I think we, maybe put too much of a premium on this team, this program, and handicapping just because of how much he lifted the talent he had. Still good talent. I still think pound for pound against Drexel, Kai, the line's about right. So if you're betting on Winthrop, it's a fade against Drexel's intelligence, and it's a fade against what you saw in game one, which we saw, and our eyes are still bleeding from just a severe lack of effort and execution with those guys.
Yeah, I watched that Drexel game, so I'm biased. One of the worst offenses I've ever seen. and they were 257th last year in offense. That checks out. There's so much standing. They hold the ball. There's very little creation, and they seem very comfortable with draining the shot clock down to like 5 to 10 seconds.
And their point guard is kind of not smart.
Yeah, they're supposed to be good this season. They have pretty much everyone back. They're top 3 in the country in continuity per Ken Pom. But Justin Moore is expected to take a huge leap. And through one game, it's one game, that's not happened yet. Amari Williams looks out of shape. He was huffing and puffing in addition to just being his lazy self. Winthrop needs Alex Timmerman to play. He missed the non-D1 game.
Yeah, good point.
I hope he's back because I did back Winthrop a bit here at pick. I wouldn't bet it past -1. It was kind of a smaller play for me. They're an experienced team. I think they're going to be good, and they find scoring a lot easier in this game than Drexel. So lean towards Winthrop here. Again, -1.5 or -2, I probably wouldn't be comfortable taking.
Yeah, big stylistic clash, and I haven't figured either team out quite enough to feel comfortable. Drexel, like we said, wants to play in the half court through bigs, patient, and Winthrop wants to go. If either team's actually able to control the tempo, maybe you get a read early on how this is going, and you could live bet it. It's obviously tough. I doubt people are going to be locked in watching this game on a college football Saturday and some of the other better mid-major games. But yeah, I don't have a good enough feel on either team yet. And I'm with you, Matt. The Prosser Winthrop era has kind of left me a little cold. It's certainly not the Pat Kelsey era redux. So
they're a mess last year, to be fair. They had like 11 starting lineups, hurt constantly. So hopefully it gets better.
All right, let's get back to Chat Mob, Matthew. I know there's some questions flowing in. Mizzou football, like I've said in the chat, I'm worried about them because Tennessee has trounced Eli Drinkwitz. But let's talk basketball, Matt. What kind of hoops questions do we have?
Yeah, well, our guy Ryan A, let's head out west, talking UC Irvine, who we alluded to earlier, and New Mexico State. The last game tonight, I believe. Some big money coming in for UC Irvine Gym. They didn't look very good in their opener against San Jose State, but market seems to trust them after playing, 13 or 12 games abroad. But they didn't look like a team that had played 12 games abroad. That's for sure. I thought they looked like the less organized group in that one. Thoughts against the Aggies?
Well, you want to find less organized groups. New Mexico State had like also 5 guys all offseason, grad students finishing elsewhere. They were missing Brandon Suggs in the opener at Kentucky, but then he came back for the non-D1 game. I think he really matters. They just need high quality players. He's been in the American for multiple years. I lean towards New Mexico State there, Matt. I think it's a little big. Hooten's still a good coach, and if Irvine had looked great in their opener, I'd be scared, but I don't think either team looked that good. New Mexico State at least has upside there with Suggs getting in the lineup.
Kai, another one from Mr. Brownwoods. Incarnate Word versus Tulsa. The Hurricane, after a historically poor season against the number last year, I think we're sort of betting on sort of a bounce back, but I have no real take in this one because Incarnate Word's still a mystery to me, laying 2 touchdowns at home against the Cardinals. Thoughts?
I'd probably lean towards Tulsa still. My number wasn't high enough to bet it. In fact, Incarnate Word probably showed a little bit of edge there, but no chance I'm betting Incarnate Word until I know what they are. And I agree. I think Tulsa's in store for a bit of a bounce back against the spread this season.
I like the over there, by the way. I think Tulsa runs and Incarnate Word doesn't stop anyone.
Interesting. Yeah, I have no take there. Jim, Scott Craig, thoughts on Mississippi State, who we saw in person and came away very impressed with against our UT Martin Skyhawks, Ryan Ritter and the boys. Nice little roster down there in Martin, Tennessee. Big number, but big enough.
And spread, I kind of could give or take. Mississippi State does have a little more perimeter punch this year with my guy, Trey Fort, and Josh Hubbard. So maybe they can, be a better cover of big numbers. I don't think UT Martin scores. We were so impressed with like the physicality, athleticism. Kai was like Jeffries and Cameron Matthews, just like, oh my God, those guys are huge. They're everywhere. They're mobile. UT Martin and all mid majors are going to have a major like struggle scoring against that team. And Arizona State was like, they're like half mid major players on that roster, and they struggle to score. I think UT Martin will as well. So lean to Mississippi State, lean to the under.
I called to throw us up to both of you. I think you guys have an opinion here. Kimmy English and the Providence Friars are hosting Bart Lundy and the Milwaukee Panthers. Kimmy laying 2 touchdowns to Bart Lundy. Me thinks I like the Panthers. I don't know why I didn't bet this one. I think both of you did correct. Kai, go to you here. Panthers plus 13 and a half.
I couldn't get the number I wanted. This game was hammered down.
Open like 15 or something, right?
Yeah. Kai, you can thank for that. Our old pal Alan Boston. Thanks, bud.
Oh, ruined the market.
Don't get me started on him being a total hypocrite.
Good for him.
And giving out plays on Twitter. The exact thing that he's been complaining about for years.
I respect that he's going all scorched earth now. He's like, people ruined me for years. I'm punching back.
He must
not respect it at all.
Yeah, that's kind of Bush League in my opinion. But this game was actually like 17 last night, so it's come down like 4 points. It's a no bet right now. I do think Milwaukee's going to keep this one close. At least that's the way I lean. But I am biased. I don't think Kimmy is going to overachieve this year at Providence, and I love Bart Lundy. So it's kind of a biased game as well.
I still think it's bettable for like half a unit.
I
think Milwaukee is legit, and I'm not fully sold on Kim English and Providence as a big favorite. So I think Milwaukee can hang around there. They were missing their stud Freeman in their non-D1 opener, but it was like a suspension for disciplinary reasons, and he should be back. So I think they're going to be full strength.
In general, my theory with these money or larger dogs, if you miss like 2 or 3 or 4 points of value, I just like hitting the money line, especially early in the year when like the market's sort of, you don't really know what you're getting with either team. So it's like maximum uncertainty. Just a Maddie anecdote there. Don't take that with any real clout. How about Harry R asking about the Bonnies laying 11, some big money coming in against the Bonnies to open here, Kai. Sorry, Harry, I am with that money momentum.
Answer that yourself, Matt.
I'm with Canisius. Yeah, this is actually a best bet for me at the current number. I think Canisius is a feisty dog here. Very familiar with the Bonnies and Mark Schmidt. They played a ton over the years, and Witherspoon's done pretty well against them. You look at the historical splits. So I think both sides know what they're getting. I think it's the familiarity favors the dog. I think it actually is a lower scoring game than probably some of the total numbers indicate as well. I think Canisius had a few guys out last game, but they're deep this season. And they played, Cuse pretty close last game, despite having some unfavorable shooting splits. I think they hang here. I know it was kind of a BS late cover, but the splits were, I think, in the favor of the Golden Griffies. I think they're a nice little ball club this year. So
I think the historical Witherspoon Schmidt matchups are the best thing there. Like they're just pretty frequently close, and Bonaventure's been way better in some of those years.
Bonnie's don't feel like a great favorite this year. Like laying 12, I know like the data doesn't really agree with that. They just don't feel like I'm going to run you to the woodshed favorite this season. I don't know.
Their first game was tough. I expected much better effort.
It's Longwood. I know, right? Yeah.
Longwood could be good, but still.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Longwood was 3 of 17 from 3 and covered easily. So
good.
Hey, Schmidt played 9 guys, so.
Hey, he likes a bench now. How about that? Evolution. Adaptation.
Yeah.
Good for Mark. Here we are also asked about North Texas, Kyle. We watched them up close and personal and discussed as they skeezed a cover from Northern Iowa. Although we came away fairly impressed with that group. Minus 14.5 to Omaha, who I know has improved this year, does feel high, but just the way they guarded kind of scared me off here. So I didn't get involved. Do you have any action here?
Yeah, I don't want to make a habit of complaining about bets, but yeah, losing +5 in overtime on Northern Iowa was brutal. North Texas is awesome. I think Omaha is kind of good this year, at least relatively speaking. But I cannot bet against North Texas at home. I think they have a friendly whistle there. I think their defense is amazing. And I think Omaha, despite their improvements, will still struggle to score a lot. And I know they're going to struggle stopping North Texas, especially Varen Scott. What he showed last game is for real, which I kind of think it is. He's a stud. It's just total stay away from me.
Yeah, a year ago in the preseason, McCaslin said he thought Scott could be the best player ever at North Texas. So The potential is there. Yeah,
he looked really good, really, really good.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. A lot of questions about St. Peter's and NJIT, a little Jersey showdown. Man, I don't have a lot to say here. NJIT, I think, got some people's attention. Under Grant Bielmeyer, the new former Kevin Willard assistant, now taking over at that sort of weird program, I would say. Strong academic program, not a ton of basketball history there. They got blown out by Miami, but I think there's some hype around this team. I don't quite get it, Jim. What am I missing here?
Is there hype?
I'm not seeing a ton of hype on that. I feel like more of the hype is like Fairleigh Dickinson with Castleberry versus
that's
NJIT.
true. Seems more warranted.
I think this is going to be a rock fight. You look kind of at
everyone likes the under in the chat, so that's where
you dig into NJIT's Miami game. They played really slow offensively. The game was just fast because Miami get layups or threes right away, and St. Peter's is going to play slow and ugly. So I definitely lean towards the under, even though it's been bet down.
Hi, Mike Rizzo and others asking about Bowling Green against who are they playing? I'm blanking. Arkansas State? Yeah, some mob tug of war. We have some folks on Arkansas State. That's actually where I stand. And some folks on Bowling Green, who I guess came away with that impressive win over Chicago State. I'm not as impressed by that. Thoughts on this one? Market has this at Bowling Green laying 3 at home, basically implying these two teams are equals.
I lean towards Arkansas State at that line, but I did not bet it. I like the over. The over's moved roughly 10 points.
10 points.
Yeah, 10
Holy
points.
shit.
Since it opened. Again, thanks a lot to the overnight people. I like the over still.
I think there was more money this morning. I think it was quiet actually at like 156. And then it hit up another 5. Maybe your ass or some other release.
It's going to be high scoring. Big I lean towards Arkansas State, but you know what? I don't know, man. Bowling Green could be good too. Todd Simon, he was really good at Southern Utah last year. It's tough for me on the side.
I do worry I'm short selling Bowling Green this year, yeah.
Arkansas State played like 7 guys. They're like 3 returning rotation players did not play in the opener, and they're trying to play like as fast as possible without depth. I'm concerned.
Yeah, it could get out of hand. Right.
Well, I hope not. But that's all I have from chat mob inquiries, unless I missed one. I don't think I did though.
All right,
Mizzou, Tennessee football thoughts.
I already gave mine.
I hope we win. Is Burden out? I didn't know that. It sucks.
Yeah. You have to bet Tennessee if Burden isn't playing. All right. That is it. Let's recap best bets real quick, Matt. I think you were. Yeah, we'll do that right at the end. Yeah, hit subscribe. We're getting close to 1,000. That would be huge if we could hit that number.
We really appreciate that.
My best bet was Cornell and Fordham over 152. Matthew, I believe you said Canisius and maybe one other one that you liked.
We haven't talked about my other. Can I give 2?
Well, you gave the Bradley first half too.
Bradley first half, yes, official. Canisius at +11, not a good number, but I still think it's a good bet. Official, and then I'll throw one in there. Go ahead.
Are you doing 3 best bets? Did I hear that?
Yeah, right? Let's live. It's the debut show. What are you gonna do? 1? Come on.
Yeah, I don't even know what it's gonna be. I've had a rough
start. Montana State +11
I like that
Seattle.
One too, Matthew.
Yep. Some market resistance, Jim. Some people bet against this. Matt Logie going back to his old stomping ground in Seattle. Point Loma was 4-2 against D1 opponents when he was there. He's got a pretty good roster, and I think they're catching a Seattle team that struggled in their opener. Logie talked about he's going to have like 70 family members in there. They got some guys in the team from. I think they're really hyped for this first kind of road game. Like I know we talked about kind of a tough spot for some teams. I think for this particular squad, they're going to get up for it. I think they had a chance to win this game outright.
Can I ask one thing? Did you say back to old stomping grounds?
He's from the Seattle area, I thought, Logie.
Oh, okay. I was like, Point Loma's in San Diego. So
yeah, San Diego, right. I think he's from there. His family's from there. They have 2 players. Like they and Seattle holds like 100 people in the gym, so they may have half the crowd. They have that huge what's the big inflatable thing? Terrible gym, by the way, the Red Hawks. They need to build something bigger.
Well, sometimes they play at Climate Pledge. They play in the giant one, but yeah. All right.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
Kai, let's hit the people with the best bet. This is where it starts, baby. Let's go.
I'm gonna go back to the Catamounts. I'm gonna take Western Carolina. +5.5. That's pretty available out there. MGM, Caesars, DraftKings, I think I'll have +5.
We can say all these different book names.
Yeah,
now.
We're not sponsored by book.
Take the muzzle off.
Yet.
Take it off.
Yet. But yeah, you can find 5.5 out there. I like Western Carolina. I think they can keep this close. I think they can win outright. I'm worried about Shrewsbury game planning and cold shooting, but that's every game. So that's my best bet.
Bet Rivers, your interface is bad. I can finally say it. All right.
It is.
That's it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this first 3-man weave solo produced best bet show on Saturday morning, leading right into tip times at 11. We'll be back again next Saturday, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Remember to hit subscribe on the YouTube. Our podcast is live on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. That's also on the same YouTube channel. Of course, it will be on pod feeds after that, but you can also check it out there. Great interaction. Great work today, Chat Mob. We're hoping to get the daily show back. I know there's big yearning and desire for that. We're working on it. But thanks again for tuning in. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.